Has India-EU mega trade deal finally come through after 2 decades? What are the gains and what are the risks that we are looking at? And is this the billion-dollar trade deal that is going to change the game for India? And it is going to be the real show on Republic Day. The India-European Union Free Trade Agreement is not merely a commercial arrangement. It is a structural transformation of India's trade policy, India's strategic positioning, and also India's contribution to global integration. And it has far-reaching consequences, where it has been rightly named as mother of all deals. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to focus on one of the most important and historic deals that India is going to sign, and which can change and transform India's landscape and presence of India in terms of global trade. So when we are talking about this particular deal, I am referring to India-European Union Free Trade Agreement. And during the World Economic Forum at Davos, we saw that the European Commission President signaled that there is almost finalization of this particular deal. When we are talking about naming this as mother of all deals, it has been rightly named so because we are looking at this deal which will be looking into 25% of world's GDP. It would be looking into 2 billion population across the world, and this is where it gets very important, where this deal will stand up in the whole global landscape. So we'll be understanding all of this. Let us start with understanding more about the deal itself, because once we are talking about finalization, as of now in the last 2 years itself, the main negotiation has been accelerated, and we have seen that 20 of 24 chapters were finalized. But when we are hearing it from the President of European Commission that this is almost about to be signed, that means all the negotiations are done. So let us see what is on the table that it is being called mother of all deals. When we are talking about India-EU FTA, first thing we have to understand that this is a proposed arrangement as of now, and it would be between India and European Union. That means this is going to be India's final access entry point towards 27 nations in Europe. And you have to clearly connect it to the recent meeting between India and Germany, and how Germany pitched that India and European Union FTA, Germany is going to be with India. So I have covered this in detail already in a video. This also shows that how Europe is also looking towards a stable market. Europe is also looking for an upcoming opening where the economy is growing amidst the instability that has been created. So all of that has been covered already. You can go and watch that video. Now, when we are talking about FTA, it covers multiple sectors. It covers trades in goods, it covers trades in services. It also goes beyond that. It takes up investment, technology, and also regulatory cooperation, which was one of the biggest contentious points between the negotiation. And it also has intellectual property. Now, when we are talking about this whole deal, we also need to understand the whole significance in terms of numbers. So starting with, as I have already mentioned, it is going to cover the population of 2 billion across the globe, 25% of GDP. But another important fact here is that this is going to be the largest bilateral trade agreement under negotiation which is present across the globe. You might have seen trade agreements between one bloc to another, but this number which is being presented, this is one of the first when we are talking about between two countries, and this is going to change the game not just for European Union but also for India in terms of how global value chain and what participation of these countries look like. As of now, if you look at the numbers, we get to see that total trade as of now is situated somewhere around $136.5 billion, And this number can go exponentially high if the FTA is finalized, which has been said by the President of European Commission that the finalization might be able to take place in next 15 to 20 days, where the next visit has been set up. So as of now, when we are looking about the trade, India's exports to European Union and India's imports from European Union, they do not have a huge trade deficit. The trade deficit is somewhere around $15 billion. But this number is going to be drastically changed, not in terms of trade deficit, I am talking in terms of total trade that is being done. And when we are going to look into the details of free trade agreement, you will understand that how this is a win-win once this FTA is signed for both of the parties. So stay tuned till the end so that we are able to understand that why it is not just about that how big this FTA is, but how important also this FTA is. So in this context, if we are talking about, we also have to understand that we also have to understand clearly that European Union already holds 17% share in terms of India's export. Let's just say India, if it exports 100%, that means 100 items, 17 items go to European Union. But if European Union gives 100 items, then only 9 items come to India. So this is the place where there is a lot of space where the trade can further expand. And if we look into the deep integration, if we look into it, we will be clearly able to see that we still have scope for getting into European supply chains. We have the scope of getting investment from European Union, and this export number in front of us, that can be hugely expanded. And that is what has been kept at the main point of this trade deal, which is being negotiated for almost 2 decades as of now. So we clearly get to see that this is going to be economic integration at a unprecedented scale, and this comes at the end of the meeting of World Economic Forum at Davos, and also the signing is expected around Republic Day. So the main show of Republic Day might be India-European Union Free Trade Agreement in itself. Now let us move ahead and discuss clearly that why are we placing so much importance on this deal, not just in terms of the volume, the number, but also why this timing, at this particular timing in 2026 when it is being signed, it is very important. It is important first of all because of the fact that if you look at the global background, for example, US's attack on Venezuela. If you look, US planning to attack Greenland and occupy it. If you look at West Asia, if you look for US context, how threatened NATO's existence is as of now, and Europe does not have a dependable partner at all. We'll come to that also, but the world is in a very chaotic place. There is no stability, no predictability. And one of the biggest harm of chaos in terms of trade, that trade suffers. It is always the drawback that we get to see in wars, that trade suffer. So what is required? A stable, a predictable regime here in terms of trade. That is why this FTA is important. And also European Union, as I said, Europe is left in a very questionable position. There is no answer. Where is US? What will US do? Will US place tariffs? That is also in terms of global background only. US can place tariffs, US can place sanctions. US would want to protect Europe, US cannot want to protect Europe. US has gone ahead and given the example of Indian Ocean Island, Diogo Garcia. Can you tell me in the comment section that which European member is basically the occupant of this island? So US has thrashed that European member also, that you cannot leave that island, which is very important. That is why I am occupying Greenland. So in this context, it is very important for European Union and Europe as a collective unit to find some solid ground. And as of now, across the world, yes, India is one of the perfect candidates for a solid, stable ground. Not just economically, but also politically, we are institution-wise stabilized. Economically, we are thriving, the market is open, middle class is growing, and there is a lot of appetite for expenditure. So, European Union's all boxes were getting ticked here. Now, when we are looking for India, India is also looking for stability. India is done with just holding the name tag of a strategic partner. US says, yes, we are strategic partner, but US does not behave like that. India wants market access. India wants to grow its exports. So, to grow the exports, we need places to sell. US is not allowing. US is forcing other countries to not allow. US does not want India to do trade in Iran. US does not want India to do trade with Russia. US does not appreciate India-China relationship. What should India do? India's motivation here is not only market access, but also integration into European supply chains. The kind of deeper engagement that whole of this European Union bloc can give is also India's motivation here. And most important is the strategic dimension. That is, this is an economic deal, yes, but this has geopolitical dimensions, where you will get to see one of the biggest blocs across the world is coming together with India. It is strengthening India-European Union strategic partnership, which is going to be a great example in the multipolar world, where there are a lot of forces which are trying to make it unipolar. So, if we do not want that, we need to set more examples for multipolarity, and this India-European Free Trade Agreement which is proposed can actually do that. So, in totality, we get to see it is not just about the chaos that was going on, the need of European Union, the need of India, and also what it leads up to has led to its finalization. And as I said, this finalization comes after a very long wait, because the talk of this FTA had begun in 2007. There have been multiple rounds since then. There was a setback period between 2013 to 22 when the negotiations were suspended altogether. So, from 2022 to coming to 26, where we are seeing accelerated negotiations and a comment that the deal might be finalized in the very next week itself, sounds like a big achievement on India's economic front and also India's diplomatic front. And that is why it is very important for us to look into that what is this FTA offering us? What are the gains that India is looking for? So, if we talk about the gains, it is not just about removal of tariffs, European Union tariffs, 10% tariffs. It is also about, you will see the sectors such as textiles and garment, leather and footwear, and also marine products. Remember, they are labor intensive, which is an important factor when we are talking about India's population. So, we are getting reduced tariff that gives us a better price in the foreign market, also ensures employment generation, and also brings in MSMEs expansion. It is not about just these sectors. We also have knowledge intensive sectors which are in the picture, such as pharmaceuticals and specialty chemicals. First of all, pharmaceuticals, India, which wants to be branded as the pharma of the world. This is our chance where we get to enter a supply chain. We have the market and we have been assured that there will be faster regulatory approvals. The pharmaceuticals and chemicals will have harmonized standards, and there will be easier access for generics and specialty drugs as well. So, this only not facilitates our branding as the pharma of the world, facilitates the important pillars of our economy, but also make sure that we diversify in terms of export markets. We don't need to focus on US, we can target our exports somewhere. It ensures that we remain competitive in the world market and we remain protected from the shocks that US is not shying away to give. Now, in this context, we also need to look on the other side, that what are we offering to European Union? For European Union, the biggest gain that they are going to get is India's fastest growing market. Large middle class, that means there is appetite for expenditure. rising premium consumption and also this growth in terms of demand. This is not short term, this is long term. The key beneficiary sectors for European Union will be wine and spirits, automobiles, especially premium segment. Because if you remember in the Germany video, we were discussing that how the Germany MSMEs, can you tell me in the comment section what was the key term which was used for Germany MSMEs which have had a family line but they have become brands now, and also industrial exports are being targeted. Also importantly, which will facilitate us in technology, is services and intellectual property. We have IT, we have engineering services, telecom services. This will ensure stronger intellectual property protection and it will facilitate India a gateway, an entry point into the world's top class innovation system as well. So as of now, what it looks like is not that this has been signed as a favor of one country to another. This is a very balanced, strategic, understood and a win-win agreement for both of the countries. And that is why I was saying in the start itself that when we are using the tag of mother of deals, it is not just about the volume, it is also about what these countries can change for each other in terms of the whole trade landscape in front of us. But even though this agreement has not been signed as of now, there are certain challenges that are already being anticipated and that we must understand from the perspective of our exam and also general understanding. So when we are looking at challenges, the biggest challenge in front of us is carbon border adjustment mechanism. Again, we have discussed this in a previous video in great detail. You can go and watch that video. You have to understand here that presence of CBAM directly affects India's key important sectors which are exporting. Now, this is a form of protectionism only, this is form of a tariff only, but it has been green wrapped. And because it has been green wrapped, the competitiveness, the prices that India gives that becomes lucrative in the foreign market, that will be reduced, because there is no point if one product in Europe is for 100 and India is going there and selling it for 150 euros. Obviously, we are out of the choice. Another important challenge here is the automobile tariff cuts, because EU has clearly demanded that there should be deep duty reductions in terms of automobile. But for India, this is a problem because we already have a very strong domestic manufacturing and a growing sector in this place. And this is something we have seen in terms of Japan and South Korea as well. And if we facilitate this, we will be directly undermining where we are pitching Make in India. We are allowing people making abroad and coming here. So that does not seem suitable for India. And another challenge in front of us is in terms of intellectual property rights. European Union is pushing for TRIPS plus standards. So when we are talking about TRIPS plus, first we have to understand that WTO has set up certain standards that is based on TRIPS, that is trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. Now this means WTO's TRIPS is the bare minimum. So the standards that have been set through TRIPS, that is there. But what European Union wants better standards than TRIPS. So that is the common term that is used is TRIPS plus. The problem here for India is that this will lead to higher medicine prices. This will lead to weaker generic industry, which is a stronghold in our country, and it will also raise public health concerns because the medicines will be costlier. And the last challenge that I want to discuss here is in terms of services, and that comes with mobility of professionals. So what India wants, that there should be greater movement of skilled workers, because you have to remember India is being pitched as the powerhouse of skilled workers. We want to be seen not just as a country which is sourcing labor, which is sending labor. No, we are the producers, we are the powerhouse, we are the exporters of skilled labor. But European Union is very cautious in terms of immigration and also labor norms, which are not being dialed down for India. So these are certain factors which still remain unclear, which still remain challenging, and that might dilute the effect, the impact, the consequence that we are imagining for India-European Union Free Trade Agreement. But at the same time, the impacts coming from this agreement cannot be diluted because they are multidimensional. It is not only going to bring in export growth and diversification, employment generation, upgradation of technology, but also a foreign direct investment. And it has its strategic aspects that we have already discussed. And in terms of policy, we are also going to see that India is going to enter, most importantly, a high standard regime. So at one place, we are focusing on Atmanirbhar Bharat, Made in India, but at the same time, we are part of the global integration, and this will serve as a template that how the coming trade agreements with India would look like. Now, this comes amidst the setting where India is signing up multiple free trade agreements to diversify. So you can go and watch the previous video about free trade agreements, be it with Oman, be it with other countries, that become important from the perspective of exam as well. If you have any doubts, you can put it down in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.